Welcome to the Mom Curious podcast. What's up, guys? I'm Daniela Rabbani, and yes, it's true. Laura Lucetti, she's back.
On the mic.
Okay, she's back because we have a special guest. Her name is Beryl.
That's me.
And she is the owner of Poplar. She is a self-proclaimed bougie stoner mom.
Totally.
Oh my God, you guys, if you're watching on video, she's cute. And we've been wanting to have her on for a really long time. I thought you guys should know what we were talking about. We were talking about Beryl sucking on a candy, and I just, of course, assumed I am not a weed mom.
We've discussed this.
And we've discussed it on air.
Yes.
Laura was there. But, you know, it was a different time.
Mm-hmm. It was.
I was a different woman.
It's a different time.
I still am not a weed mom. But I'd like to be. In fact, if you have anything on you, I am sort of curious to see what would happen to my brain if it was better quality.
Okay.
And also in better company. I just always assume, like, I think of marijuana as like high school, and I'm binging, and it's different.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's why it needed or needs a rebrand. That's why Poplar was born, because it isn't what it was in high school. And I make a lot of analogies to alcohol, not because they're similar, but because people understand alcohol. So my comment to you would be like, you don't define yourself as a wine mom, but don't you have a glass of wine every once in a while?
No.
Okay.
But
most people do.
But
Bad question.
Okay, yeah.
Whatever. Okay.
No, but I don't define myself as a psychedelic mom, and I microdose mushrooms all the time. I macrodose mushrooms.
And I am a big fan, of psilocybin as well.
But I actually don't have a label for that experience in relation to motherhood at all.
I think that's my point.
An episode about that also, if anyone's interested in learning about my drug use, but further. But I wouldn't define. But you do define yourself around your weed consumption. Is that only because you have a brand?
I think it's really right. It's really because I have a brand, and it's because there is no word for what it is. So Jappy stoner has a bad connotation.
Guys,
but
I'm only using the word Jap because I'm a Jewish American princess. But it's
like a conference here. We got a conference.
I mean, come on. It's like a conference here. We got a conference. But it's a slur. But so you're not supposed to say that.
Correct. That's why I'm saying. But I don't know if you're self-proclaimed. Is it socially acceptable? I'm not sure. But yes,
listen, it's ever evolving.
I think that certainly has negative connotations. Always has, and especially now, those are sort of questionable.
Yeah.
More than ever. So bougie just feels better. So
Bougie.
yes, bougie stoner, but that is a self-proclaimed name to try to give it a name, because I don't why does it, to your point, why does it need a name? It's just part of who I am. I like to exercise. I am a mom. I'm a professional. I am creative, right? I have all those things. And I just think the idea that our life has to be boiled down to your Instagram profile name.
Oh my God.
Is so bizarre. And so that's sort of where bougie stoner came from, because it needed an Instagram, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
your Instagram's great, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
But Beryl, it really is a differentiator, because when you think about stoner, you think about Spencer's Gifts.
Bongs and thongs.
Yes.
That's my,
yes.
Yes. That's the go-to.
So to really make women particularly comfortable around in vibing with this plant, especially you can control your dose so clearly and so correctly now.
So much.
Your vibe, all, so much of it is within your control now. To make that more accessible for women, it's a perfect way to frame it. It's more comfortable. I mean, especially in New York City, but I would venture to say anywhere.
Yes. We definitely resonate best in the tri-state area, which was the point, right? Because when I re-embraced cannabis, which I certainly can share that story, but when I re-embraced it, I felt that there was a miss. There was just a disconnect between what it could provide and what we thought of it versus what it actually does today. And it is different. We've evolved so much, and we as people have evolved so much. And what I think we need to deal with in the chaos of today's world.
Chaos.
Why wouldn't you want as many tools in your toolkit as humanly possible?
So last night I couldn't sleep.
Okay.
I've been dealing
You were
with
so
like
excited to see me. No,
I was so excited to see you. Also, I don't get Laura in the studio ever.
Excited to see us both.
there you go.
I'm really excited. Also, I have this cough. I have a concert coming up. Blah blah blah.
Hence the Ludens, which I was not getting stoned. I was just sucking on the candy. We lost that thread, but we'll go back there.
Okay, I can't wait. But I did think to myself, like, I wonder if like those gummies for sleep would be nice right now. I don't have them.
Definitely.
I don't know them. We're
Right.
not friends.
Right.
But we can be.
But they should, again, like, wouldn't it be nice if it was a tool in your toolkit? That doesn't
Really?
mean you have to use it all the time. Back to the analogy that does not work for you. But, like, if you have a glass of wine, you are not, like, I hate those t-shirts that are like, rosé all day. Like, why is that acceptable? First of all, like,
all day. You okay?
yeah. Like, that should be the addition. You okay? Rosé
You
all
good,
day,
girl?
you okay? Yeah. But, like, why is that okay or cool or interesting? I mean, I would argue it's
Yeah.
not, but like,
It's as basic as can be.
but why does it, I mean, when I'm on Instagram on a regular basis, I send my social media person things that are done about being a wine mom that I want to redo as a weed mom. Okay. And again, weed mom, what is that? Do I actually consider myself a weed mom? It's the weirdest canna-mom. It is a bizarre concept because I don't define myself by one word in any other way.
You don't even define yourself as a mom solely.
Exactly. I mean, definitely.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I adore my children.
Sure,
and I
that's
think
great.
it is by far one of the most important jobs I will have, but it is not 100% who I am. It just isn't. I existed before them, and you know, I guess I won't exist after them. God willing, they'll exist way, way after me, but still, it's not how I define myself. And even the pressure, again, of like defining yourself. But yeah, I don't even consider myself a weed mom, but again, I feel like I sort of have to. I also think cannabis, you know, you can take it and not be stoned. There are all these cannabinoids. There's so much research. How do we boil that down and literally just make it, my mission is to make it as acceptable as chardonnay and botox. Again, there's
I
still...
don't do either of those, and I should.
Well, there are still... Well,
God, Laura's literally looking at me like, girl, you
don't
need to
do-
have more fun.
You don't do Botox?
No, I
that's
did it
why
once.
we just should hang out more.
No, but I do Ozempic, so don't worry, guys. I do Ozempic. I do
I'm
mushrooms.
still
or something.
bougie. It's fine. It's
I'm
fine.
gonna try Bufo. Have you guys, you know?
I have not
I don't know
told,
about
but I have
I don't
heard
know
of
about bougie. I don't think of myself as bougie. Like, but that's
Well, you're a
okay.
New Yorker. Maybe it's like the...
I mean, but maybe other people think of me as
Daniela, you have feathered sleeves.
Yeah.
bougie. But it's from Shein.
It doesn't matter.
But it's from Shein. But
think
literally,
it's
did it cost
it's
me
a
$5?
mindset.
I was going to say, I was like,
It's
what's
a
the word? It's
mindset.
not actually, it's the mindset.
It's a
Great.
mindset.
It's
Great.
your aesthetic, wherever it came from.
I mean, I am bougie through and through, no
Oh
denying
my
it.
God.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Luchetti is bougie.
So, like, you know, no shame. There's no shame
Oh, I
in
don't
it.
think there's any shame in it.
totally.
No.
But I do.
But we
agree that-
welcome you to our clan. We say, we see you.
Exactly. We see your feathers. And even though Chardonnay and Botox may not be your thing,
Yes.
you have other things. Do you know what like, you still have things.
Like I'm still a person. Of
course.
Yeah,
Thank
like
God.
and it's but also hold on. Weed is not bad for you. The way Chardonnay and Botox, I think, do have sort of
You know, it's funny that
Side effects,
It's
right?
funny that you say that because as I said it,
could be
as I
wrong.
create. No, you're right, but anything to the nth degree. I guess the reason I say as socially acceptable as Chardonnay and Botox, right? Because they still, all of them, including cannabis, should be within reason. By saying I am pro cannabis and a bougie stoner, that does not mean I show up, you know, on the regular to a PTA meeting stoned out of my mind. Like there's a time and a
are
place.
you a little stoned?
It depends what we're going to discuss. If we're
Okay.
discussing cannabis, you got to show up a little stoned, or they're going to like put you on a pitchfork and send you out of the room, which has
At
happened.
the PTA meeting?
Yeah.
They're discussing cannabis at the PTA meeting?
Well, they decided to discuss it when it was on the city council agenda to opt in to allow legal sales in our town of Long Beach.
Oh, wow.
So the way the rules work are New York City was in when they decided to legalize. New York City was in, but then they allowed all other cities or municipalities to independently make the decision if they were going to allow what they call recreational, which I don't like that name because I think everyone is using cannabis for some medicinal use, whether you know it or not. So I like to call it adult use. So language is important. Adult use market. So each local municipality needed to opt in order to needed to opt out or opt in order to decide if they would allow sales. So I was working really hard to try to get Long Beach to opt in because for many reasons. First and foremost, because cannabis is already here. So why wouldn't you make money off of it? Because if it's not regulated, I mean, all the studies have shown regulated cannabis is safer for children, safer for the community, and it brings in more tax dollars. Otherwise, there's no age gate, there's no saying what you're purchasing. Then you're back in the college, high school days of which is why a lot of people right.
When's it gonna be over? And then the next day, I felt like, am I here?
Right? Did someone punch you in the face? Like, what's going on? Yeah.
But I met a gentleman from Montreal recently, and I Canadians. I know a bunch of Canadians, but I was like, what's going on that you're so chill? And he literally said, my parents smoked a lot of weed. And I think it really set the tone in my house that it's all good.
Yeah, I mean,
and you could feel it around him.
It helps you self-regulate, right? Like that is one of the things that cannabis does. It brings your body back into homeostasis. Like it creates an equilibrium. So when you talk about it's good for sleep and it's good for sex and it's good for anxiety and it's good for
sex.
Oh yeah.
Euphoria I use.
Oh,
Yep.
see? So Euphoria is a brand we sold for a very long time. Maybe you got it in your gift bag eons ago.
Oh my God, I loved that gift bag. Thank you so much. The mud water was great too.
Yeah. Yep.
I did use the gummies. I didn't feel high at all. TSH? What's in that?
CBD?
CBD. Fuck.
I'm like TSH.
TSH. Is that am I talking about the airplane? Great.
That is not
You guys,
that's not.
Yeah.
CBD?
Yeah.
But there's something else.
There is THC.
THC.
Is that? Yes.
Yeah.
So
THC.
THC. So those are both cannabinoids for anyone who's listening.
Yeah. No,
yes.
I want to know.
And they're bits of, they're sort of parts of what makes up the overall cannabis plant.
And there are many more.
There are hundreds that an Israeli scientist discovered most of them. P.S. Just a little fun fact.
Love it.
We
love it.
And like to weave those bad boys in there. Who died relatively recently. But he is considered like the father of modern cannabis. He's an Israeli man.
I will tell you, Beryl, there is a long history of Jews and pot.
There is.
Yeah.
There is.
I don't know why, and I don't know when, and I don't know who, and I don't know where, but wow. It's a real thing.
It is a real thing. And I also think if you go back, if you're able, and it's very hard today to escape the modern construct of the religion and especially today, right, in a post-October 7th reality. But if you go back to a lot of the spirit of Judaism, it's about exploration and mysticism in your mind and being creative and ways that you can see things differently and the art of arguing, right? And that you are allowed to see all these different positions and one idea doesn't invalidate another. You can hold two truths in your brain at the same time.
Oh, the Rebbe. The Rebbe is here.
How do you do that without weed?
You don't.
That transcendence. You think the Carlbach came up with those songs just
What about Baba Ramdas? Big into cannabis.
So I think again, it is not going to solve all your problems. It is a tool in your toolkit, I believe. Psilocybin, mushrooms should be a tool in your toolkit. Cannabis should be a tool in your toolkit. Maybe religion is. Maybe
breath work. Breath work's nice.
Breath work, sound baths. Again, whatever you. Why are there limitations? You should have it all, and at some, you're going to kind of filter through it when it's the middle of the night and you can't sleep, and you're going to decide what works best for you at that moment in time.
Okay, can we go back to the CBD? Pardon me for using the 3 wrong letters.
No, I'm
learning here.
You're
okay.
right now.
All right, okay.
But the CBD gummies really felt good, and I did not feel high.
That is the point of CBD. So my professional journey in cannabis began when, I come from retail and fashion. That's what I did for many, many years.
Bougie.
Yeah, exactly. It's all in line.
For all of you watching the video.
Bouge alert. So I re-engaged with cannabis because I used it to decrease my anti-anxiety pharmaceutical medication. And my story was, I went to my doctor, my normal checkup, and I was just like, I tragically lost my brother many, many years ago.
So sorry.
Ultimately, like, part of that diagnosis was PTSD / like, I had Jewish anxiety always, and just kind of like, and I think that really had to come out. Ultimately, it made me open to taking an anti-anxiety medication, which before I didn't think was an okay thing, et cetera, et cetera. So I'd been on the medication for a long time, had my babies on it, again, went through, like, is it the one that's safe and the whole thing. And then I saw my doctor and I was like, so I'm kind of good. Like, can we talk about weaning off of this? And he looked at me and said, we don't really recommend women like you ever go off their anti-anxiety medication. And I literally got up, walked out, and I was like, I'll see you never.
No.
So I turned to the internet and I was like, natural alternative to anti-anxiety medication. And it was like, weed, cannabis, marijuana, cannabis, all this. And I was like, that thing that I ate in a brownie in college? Like,
but it made me so much more anxious. But also setting.
And
dose,
no one knew it.
quality.
I mean, but that was the beginning of a journey where I really wanted to find out what if it could help me and what that looked like. And a big part of that journey started with CBD, and really that was when CBD was the beginning of the CBD explosion. And what CBD enables you to do is brings your body back to that equilibrium or that homeostasis without any psychotropic or high effects to it. So it purposefully is supposed to not change your thinking necessarily, but your self-regulation.
I really liked it.
It's nice. It's lovely.
I really liked it, and I really liked that whole.
I highly recommend,
bag.
no
Thank
stupid
you.
pun intended because it's so annoying, the puns, but I highly recommend that you can consume THC with a balance of CBD.
Big
and
time.
Fun fact, if you're ever too stoned, CBD will help bring you back down.
Yep.
Oh, I needed that.
Yep.
Because really my fear around, well, I'm listening to you and I'm like, I am dealing with a level of anxiety that I've reported here that I've dealt with depression before, that I've dealt with burnout. I feel like I'm on the other side of both of those. Hello, anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always open. I'm always open to pharmaceuticals also. I don't think they don't help me. But the CBD has helped. My real fear around weed
Is getting too high.
and never getting back when
Yep.
I want to be back.
Yes. So I host these in-home pop parties. Okay.
Oh. Are we having a pop party?
We
Yes.
can definitely have a pop party.
In the yurt.
Yeah. And
In the yurt.
And
Is this your invitation, friends?
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Anyone who's listening, you can message me and you too can host a pop party. It's very easy. I'll explain the logistics. It's super easy. But my goal in those pop parties is essentially to have people experience cannabis. And if they actually don't feel anything, or they don't, getting too high means I've failed. I want you to start and be like, oh, I didn't feel anything, but I had a great night. My shoulders just felt like they weren't in my ears. They just kind of relaxed. And then the next time you can try a little bit more. And the whole point is that you never get too high, because once you do that, I believe you've sort of just, my goal is to never let you get too high.
Yeah, because it's very dysregulating.
It's terrible. It's like getting too drunk. Who wants that? It's all horrible.
So what's interesting is I like that. I used to like that. I used to only drink to get drunk, which is why I don't like the idea of having a Chardonnay. Just back to Chardonnay. The idea of having a glass of wine just feels like, what's the point of that? I just want to be raw. But that's so weird. That's weird.
It's weird.
I
mean, we love you, but it's weird.
Well,
but
it's just it's that's why you're
not
doing it the
weird.
way you're doing it, which is nah, son, it's not for me, because
Right.
if it's either all or nothing, that's
right. It's weird.
You have-
All right.
it's not
But
weird,
so
yeah.
Laura, so how do you engage with your cannabis use at this point?
So I will say it has shifted over the years, because I had adult onset epilepsy, so that was. But I was smoking before that, so full tilt. But what I used it for, as far as a tool, was getting them to have me on less anti-epileptic medicine, and it's worked for over 10 years.
CBD actually in its exact form. I mean, we call it Epilex, but
CBN also.
Yes, but CBD in particular was the first FDA approved medication for
Charlotte's Web.
Yes, and for not only adults but for children. And when you think about who is our most vulnerable population, I mean, sick children.
Go to a neurologist's office and tell me that it's not the kids there. I refuse to have in person. I love my doctor to death. I refuse to have meetings with him in person because I will not waste the time, because we'll sit there and bullshit, and I won't waste the time because I've sat in that waiting room and I see those kids, 4-6 seizures a day. That is not, you've got to hold space for those kids and give them any tools, holistic or otherwise, that are gonna, get them into a spot where they're healthy and safe.
You can give kids cannabis?
Yeah.
So there are many specials. Like Anderson Cooper did an amazing special about it, in particular tracking one family and what happens to when a severely epileptic child when you give them cannabis. So what I will just say is everything is in. You can't just can you give children cannabis? Well, no, you're supposed to be more over 21. But what's the alternative? If they are crippled with epileptic seizures, then yes, them being a little stoned, with all due respect, is so much better for what happens to their brain and their body. So it's so hard because then people take a soundbite and they flip it and they switch it.
Yes, editor, if you could just cut out the part where Beryl talks about giving children weed.
Exactly.
That would be ideal for the weed mom, for the
totally.
canna-mom. So if you could just please lift that one.
Exactly. Well, not this podcast, but you would, people love that.
Oh.
And I think the fact of the matter, I suppose, is, again, getting back to the social acceptance of it, is that there are parents who have, prior to most states being legalized. So we're at a place where, more states are legal than illegal in terms of, definitely medicinal, but also adult use. And so for those that don't know, it is regulated state by state. It is federally illegal, although there is just some news that is going to be rescheduled from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. So currently, it is Schedule 1, meaning it is listed with the most.
It's heroin.
Exactly. It is on the list with heroin. It is the most.
It's absurd.
It's the darkest drugs you can imagine.
I really wish Laura was on camera
for
that reaction.
And so now actually it's going to be rescheduled to Schedule 3. What does that mean? The industry loves to pontificate on it. That's kind of neither here nor there. But the point is, it is federally illegal. It is legal, at least medicinally, in the vast majority of states. And if we have sick children, it should be a tool in the toolkit. Again, I'm not saying that needs to be your first or your go-to, but if you are a mother and you have a sick child, you will do even if you have a child, forget the word sick. You do whatever you need to do for your child to thrive. And prior to legalization, there are stories about people, smuggling for their sick aunt, their sick child, their sick whatever. So it coming out of the shadows is a huge benefit, not just for bougie stoners, right? But just across the board.
I want to just let the listener know how deep this is resonating for me, because you're talking about sickness and anxiety in one breath. And the reason why I'm coughing is because I had my first panic attack on Wednesday, and when I came down from that panic attack, I had a sore throat.
I have so many things I want to say.
It was like a 5-hour panic attack with what I was on a school trip with Ness, and I kept telling myself, you can't. I have anxiety. I'm tingling my hands just thinking about it. I kept thinking to myself, you cannot faint. You cannot hyperventilate. You have your child here. He is in a class. I had to hold it together enough. I had to tell myself, I'm not physically in danger. I'm uncomfortable. The physical sensation was so overwhelming of anxiety, which is new for me.
Breaks my heart.
And the immediate immediate aftermath was a sore throat. I have 3 concerts in 2 countries coming up this next week. It was a sore throat, body aches. So I just want to say, like, I hear you when you put together the brain body connection.
Yeah. It's
around,
a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Totally.
Because it takes too much energy to be anxious, to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. I tell my kids all the time, it is so much easier to be nice. It does, right? So yes, it's preserve the energy for when you need it. Because in this world, unfortunately, you need it. You need to know when it's time to fight. You need to know when it's time to stand up for yourself. I'm not saying, I mean, for all my, bougie stonerness, and my dreams of being a hippie, I buy fancy shoes, not barefoot, it's this dichotomy. And I just feel like I wish I lived in this peacenik world. Mm-hmm. Part of me does, but the other part of me lives in the reality of the world, which is no. And you need to know how to take care of yourself, because just like that doctor, or just like in other settings, you and you have to take ownership into your hands to try things but to be able to try them in a safe environment with someone that knows what they're talking about. Again, I'm not talking about taking just context so people know. An average edible that you buy in a legal adult use dispensary is between 5 and 10 milligrams of THC. I would recommend any starter start with 1 to 2.5 milligrams. You most likely will feel nothing. But again, that means I was successful, because you felt nothing, and then you can try a little more and a little more. So again, it's empowering, specifically women in their 30s and 40s living in bougie places that maybe up to now it's sort of get their gummy from their friend or their husband or their whatever. Take ownership. You buy everything else in your house.
I have 4 friends. It's so funny you're bringing this up. I'm not exaggerating. 4 friends that were like, hey, Memorial Day weekend's coming up. Can you? And I'm like, you have one of the best. There's a brand new dispensary on there, just go check it out.
Or tell them to text me.
Well, I'm also I'll go with you, we'll go to Gotham. We'll have the conversations. 100%. We'll do the things,
Totally.
But they don't want to take ownership of it.
It's just, I think it's interesting because it's you do, you book your hair appointments, you go to you pick your doctors, you do everything else, within, you go shopping, but I think that it's about God, I'm never going to get it out.
Destigmatizing.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I think it's the most important thing we can do for the 30 and 40 set, because we do hold this anxiety. And Beryl, we were talking before, we were on air, and I hold a lot of fear around smoking it around other people, because I don't want to be, I don't want to bother people. I had that instance where that building literally was we're suing you because you smoke weed unless you move out, which I did move out over it, and it's just crazy that stuff gets trapped in your body like anything else, and then it's hard to shake it off. Where you see in the 20-year-olds that doesn't exist in them. They're free of it.
They grew up during legalization. During the process of legalization. Yeah. So, and now you get these different opinions. People are like, oh, well, yeah, because I grew up in California. Mm-hmm. Or yeah, because I grew up in Oregon or Colorado. And so the bougie northeastern states are behind, and it's time to catch up. And it is time to empower, especially when you talk about the spending power. Women buy everything in their household. I'm generalizing, but it is true. They buy, whether they work or not, they buy. And the facts are, you look at any marketing deck, talk to the women if you want things in the household purchased. Groceries, medicine, clothing, I don't know, homewares, whatever it is, vitamins, all those things. They're all targeted to women because that's who's buying it. But cannabis is not. And why not? It should be, I want to live in a world that on Friday night, she's running around because maybe she's hosting a dinner party, maybe it's Shabbat, I don't know, whatever. But what she's doing, she's going to the wine store, she's going to the dispensary, she's going, to the butcher. That is just part of her jam. And so when people come over, hey, do you want a gummy? You want a cocktail? What's happening? How are you feeling? What can I get you? It's part of every house. If you have a bar, you should have a weed cart. Why isn't it just part of what is socially acceptable? again, with
I think also
parameters.
because there's science involved, right?
Very much
So
so.
like, and you two seem to know about the science of it. You know the dosing, you know how to deliver it, you know the edibles or gummies or, you know, bongs. You know, we giggle at bongs, but that's a way.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
what-
yes,
you know.
I
have
have a
one.
beautiful bong that literally looks like a flower vase.
Yes.
So I do have a cart. It's the first thing that you'll hit when you get in my house. Actually,
Amazing.
you would. Have
I can't
to,
wait to get invited.
You will, and you will love it.
Wait, you're not
and
invited. You're inviting everyone.
Yes,
you
everyone's
are
coming to Poplar.
invited,
You're
and
hosting.
we are inviting.
Yes, exactly.
It's a
You
dual
heard?
invitation.
Exactly.
But I have a cart. It's the first thing that you run in. I inherited a mid-century modern bar that I flipped into a beautiful cart because it's what I use more. It's what I invite. And obviously there's also a bar for everybody that's at my house, which I
Yes.
also, you know, will stop by. But
P.S. My gummies are all locked. Let me be clear. They are all in lock boxes.
I have no kids.
Well, like they're in very chic lock boxes, but like safety is important. And you know, now what do I lock up and what don't I lock up? I have this conversation with people a lot. So I'm a big fan of cannabis beverages in the spirit that will lead to the vast majority of destigmatization. We sell can on our website.
we have them in the office.
There you go. So we sell can on our website
them.
as an example. But there are a variety. Can happen to be the front runner, and I think the taste profile is delicious, but there are many others.
It's also very clean ingredients if
Yes.
that's what you're looking for.
Yes.
I mean, there are some really rock your face off fun ones in California, but like the ingredients are trash.
Yes, and I would say that that's also true across the board. That was part of like the Poplar promise was, okay, well now you want to embrace this plant medicine, like, you know, you don't want whatever it is, red number 5 or
Yeah.
whatever it is, like in your gummies, like let's understand what's in them, or just buy it from a place that understands what's in them. Like you don't need to be the knower of all things. I think that's a misnomer in consumerism. You just need to go buy it from an authority that knows.
Right. I think that's really important because there's like a scientific component here. Where,
Very much so.
You know, which is why you're a mentor. Right, that's why you have your job, because like on a can of beer, you can see how much alcohol is in it, and because it's so colloquial and easy and accessible and legal, you've tried a beer before.
Sure.
So you know what that feels like. You've tried 2 beers before, so you know what that feels like.
Sure.
But first of all, if it's, like you said, with something that's been illegal nearly our entire lives.
Yes.
Ah,
Yes. And we grew up with the television literally telling us that our brain, like we were gonna
Fried like an egg.
turn into like you know that it like the commercial turns you into this like slinky human that like goes down, like it's like
And is that not true?
it could not be farther from the
Do you
truth.
remember
Because
the
you're
girl?
saying that it actually was a health. First of all, it helps with your epilepsy.
Yes.
It helps with your anxiety. Are you off of your anxiety medication, or did it?
I am on a much lower dosage of my anti-anxiety. pharmaceutical
So it's the
anti-anxiety
same
medication.
thing for me with the anti-epileptics. It's such a low dose that like they think it's unbelievable.
Right. Part of that might be me white knuckling it, like keeping on to it because I'm not ready to fully let it go, like in my own brain.
God bless.
Which also I was going to comment about that at some point to you is that maybe even just having it.
Oh no, I've tried it. I've tried it.
No. Having it present in your toolkit can, whatever it is.
You mean weed?
I mean all the things. Like
Oh.
just having the options present.
I should have had it.
eliminates some level of anxiety because then you at least have it as an option.
You know, it's funny. It's like if you know you
I
have
would have brought
anxiety,
it for you today.
I would have had it.
A little something.
for
I mean,
you
I
today.
can gift you something else.
I well, thank you. Because here's the thing. I realized, you know, so much of like this singing stuff. I realized like, oh, I'm absolutely capable. But the nervous system and the world and my sensitivity, I think that's part of what's beautiful about being an artist is like, I'm sensitive. But if I'm too sensitive to function, I can't deliver the goods.
Sure.
And
So
and the
that's
goods
why-
they are. Let me tell you something. This woman and her voice
I know.
are something else. Her stage presence is unfucking matched.
I know we've been like
I-
internet stalkers until
I can't. I walked out of that play and amid falling walls and That is right?
Yeah,
And-
we got a Drama Desk nomination.
as you should have.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Daniela, in one part, plays a burlesque singer.
Yeah.
And it is a revelation. I mean, it is truly a revelation. And
best.
I walked out of the play. Brian and I were both moved to our core. I went outside to get air and then was locked out. And this young 20-something-year-old boy was like, I can't let you in. I'll lose my job. I'm like, I just want to say congratulations to my friend. But really, truly, everyone needs to experience your gifts. So anything you can do to get yourself
Right.
into,
Yeah.
you know.
So we need to gift you so
Yes.
you can gift us.
Yes, please.
It's like a
Yes.
circular environment.
Yes.
You know?
I'm not. I the only reason why I share that is because I can't be the only one.
Of course not.
I can't. This is. I live in a body like everybody else, and if you can't stay healthy, you can't do your job.
That is, and I think that
And thank you, Laura. I wrote
yeah.
this
Oh.
down.
about being, and I think that is particularly particular about being an artist and about being a mom.
Yeah,
Because that is the definition of you have to put your own oxygen mask on first or whatever before you put it onto other people. Because if you're, and that is one of the many reasons that, in addition to like all people should embrace it, but especially I think, I mean, it also, back to the science of it, is so much better for you than alcohol. Like,
Oh, can you tell me more about that?
yeah, well, I mean,
Because I'm seeing here. This is your brain on
Right.
drugs.
so
And
that's all a lie.
It's a frying egg.
Yes. So there's two like commercials you remember. One is like the sunny side up egg frying, and the other again is that like slinky human. It like goes and like slides off the couch, whatever.
There's a third. It was the girl in the water. The water fills in the room, and she's like drowning because she smoked a joint. It was
Oh my
very,
God,
very
it's terrible.
dramatic.
I
That
mean-
one is ingrained.
It's ridiculous. But actually, your body has an endocannabinoid system, just like it has a nervous system and a respiratory system. It has an endocannabinoid system throughout your body, many receptors, functions like a lock and key. So when you receive cannabinoids, THC, CBD, CBN, there's a whole variety of them. Again, back to that Israeli doctor that defined and found a lot of them.
May his
Exactly. May his memory be a blessing. But we, like, your body knows what to do when it receives it. You don't have an alcohol system. You don't have a wine system or a tequila system. You have an endocannabinoid system that is ready to receive it. And what that system does is helps your body maintain its equilibrium. So if it's off, so when you see all these products, sleep, anxiety, how can this one thing do all these different things? The reality is that's all circular. You're off kilter, so you can't sleep. You're off kilter, so you have anxiety, right? Whatever it is. So by definition, bringing yourself back to this sort of homeostasis will enable everything else to work better. So your body is made to receive it. And so there's a lot of science to it, and then there's a lot of politics to it. The reality, whether again people now are admitting it, but for a long time people didn't want to, is that criminalizing cannabis was a systematic racist technique to overly police brown and black people. White people and non-white people use cannabis at the exact same rates. The black and brown rates of incarceration or arrest.
Black, right?
Yes, but non-white.
Okay.
I mean, a big Mexican population, they targeted it. So as we think about this time in which we live, which is this social justice, which is this, free yourself, which is freedom of speech, all these things that they all speak to cannabis, and some of my friends are kind of like, this doesn't have anything to do with weed, Beryl, shut up, and I'm like, but it kind of does. Like,
It does.
Think about it, and
It does.
And it's just this undercurrent that I believe if everyone got a little high, everything would be a little bit better.
It's also why it was nice the way New York State, when we legalized, we really we gave the opportunity for licenses.
Yes, we certainly tried. We
certainly tried.
Again, now whether an industry should be built off of social justice or it should be built to sustain itself remains a question.
A nice marriage would be cute,
It would
right?
be nice, but again, we're we in today's society are not very good at holding two ideas in our brain at the same time. So I know. Sorry to be the bearer of the bad news.
I'm just sitting with the just the realization that if black and brown people and white people, that we all consume cannabis the same
rates. All studies have shown that regardless of race, people consume cannabis at the exact same rate.
It's just so funny. It's like a little bit funny to me because it's like I can't imagine anyone like high on cannabis being dangerous.
Well, that's because they're not.
Well, that's exactly the point.
Do you know what I mean? Like how you were like giggling about what was the other drug that they put it in the same category of?
Heroin.
That feels dangerous. I'm afraid. The idea of that is
all advocates say, like people say, they're like, give people in a bar alcohol, they'll get in a bar fight. Give people in a bar weed, and they'll like sing Kumbaya and put their arms around each other and hug. Like, it's true. Like, it really is. And that's also part of why people are starting to look at the science and people are starting to open their eyes and say, oh my gosh, on the one hand, it really does have this medicinal function to people who have cancer and epilepsy and these real diseases, and no one has ever died from it. Period. Full stop.
Full stop.
No one has died from consuming too much cannabis.
You just go to sleep.
And no one has killed anyone.
Well,
I mean, maybe that's not
who's to
necessarily
say?
true, but sorry. But the definitely the
It's
stereotype
by no means
is not
a
that
violent drug.
it doesn't seem like a violent drug. I mean, even based on my high school,
dabbling.
not that fun,
Right.
experience. I mostly just wanted to retreat and be alone and let it be over.
Right.
Soon.
Like, can we
even if it's bad, you're likely to land there. That's it. Is like you go internal. You want to be alone. You want to go to sleep. You want to whatever. You definitely don't want to go out and bother other people. That's not really the vibe.
What's our event going to be like?
Well, very nice
about
segue because we are closing in on time, and I would love you to walk us through the logistics of throwing a cannabis party, because I'm sure there are a lot of listeners that would be interested in hearing about it.
Amazing. So,
and maybe check the show notes for details.
Yes,
or at the very least, a way to get in contact with Beryl to throw your own.
So, just a little rewind to set the stage. So in 2017, I embraced cannabis as a health and wellness tool. I saw the trend of CBD coming. I was like, I want to start the net-a-porter of let's start with CBD because it's legal, it's federally legal where THC isn't. And the intention sort of the whole time was to build this audience and this trust around cannabis as part of your lifestyle. That it's not scary, that it's not bongs and thongs, that it's not necessarily witchy, like all of those things. And
even those things are pretty cool. They're nice.
Sure.
A little witchy is cool. Bongs and thongs is not cool. Bongs and thongs is like Spencer's Gifts, weird.
It's also misogynistically
yes.
female. Like, you know what I mean? Like I know long nails are now in, so no offense to any reason, but like super long nails and boobs and cleavage. And again, if that's your jam, rock on. But let's not just like have that be associated with the look and feel of weed.
Great.
This Rachel Comey jumpsuit should just as well be like a stoner, like ensemble,
100%.
Like
100%.
So anyways, that was the point. And the intention was to open a dispensary under the banner of Poplar. And that was the goal. Now, fast forward, legalization didn't go the way it was supposed to. We are most likely not opening a dispensary under the current rules and regulations. And so in the meantime, while we waited, and now since we've realized what the regulatory environment truly is going to be, we found this little niche in these in-home pot parties. Now, is it the huge business I thought it was going to be, like meaning a chain of dispensaries and blah, blah, blah? No, but does it enable me to sort of live out this part of my mission that is to make cannabis as socially acceptable as botox and chardonnay to this bougie, certain age, certain customer? Yes. So really we've pivoted into, we still sell things online, but we've really pivoted to these experiences because that's the way that we make a difference.
And people are really dying for like 3D experience.
Yes. Oh, we've been saying that for years.
Yes.
Oh my God. Wow.
So that's what we do now. And so essentially what happens is you reach out to me either via our website or via our Instagram and you say, I want to host a pot party. So you need to provide the space and the snacks. And then you invite your friends. So we make you an invitation, like a beautiful PDF, super easy, when, where, right? So we plug in your information. So if you want to have it, you know, if you live in a high rise and there's a party room in there, and it does not need to be a place that you can necessarily consume.
If you live in East Hampton and you have a yurt.
There you go. So, I mean, all the above, right? So you need a location. We make you an invite. You reach out to your friends. And then the day of the party, I show up with all of the supplies. Essentially, we set up a rolling bar. So I have a collection of vintage rolling trays and grinders and tamper sticks and all the things you need. And I teach you to roll a joint. So you sit at the rolling bar. I teach you to roll a joint. Included in that joint rolling can be CBD flower, meaning it looks just like weed, but it does not get you high. Or we also have these other herbs that we put on the table that are no tobacco and no cannabis. So even if you're not a cannabis person, you can still roll your joint if you want, or roll it and give it to someone else. So you sit, you pay to sit at the rolling bar. I set it up. It's super beautiful. It takes about 20 minutes, and we kind of go through so that everyone who attends the party, I say you have to get a minimum of 20 people there, which means you'll get 15 people there. That's part of, you know, the formula. So you get your friends there. I do all the heavy lifting. I walk you through. Everyone kind of siphons through the rolling bar. And then there's a shopping opportunity where we have sort of on the side all of our products that we have curated.
Which are amazing.
I
can attest to
They
that.
are amazing.
They really are amazing.
So we don't make our own products, but we curate. So again, back to sort of that Net-a-Porter analogy, everything that we have on the site is clean. Everything I have taken, everything I would give to my mother, right? Like however you want to define that benchmark. So then I set up, I bring all the products. People pay to sit at the rolling bar. They learn how to roll 2 joints. They get an edible that they can either have then or have later. I go through the dosage with everyone as they sit at the rolling bar. And then you also get a lighter that we bedazzle that you get to take home, which is usually a crowd favorite. Yeah. So it says, "Hi, my name is," and it has like a line. So you can write mama or like whatever you want, you know, your initials, whatever it is. And so you get to walk away with that goodie bag and that experience and that hands-on and that knowledge. And honestly, like I give out my cell phone in that rolling bar interaction, and I'm like, ask me your questions. You don't have to like do it through Telegram and have it be like shady for those who know what Telegram is, or Signal or whatever. Like just text me. You want to know where to get something? You want to know what something is? You want to send me a package? Like I legitimately want to be your best friend who's in the know about weed. Like, that is what I want to do. Now, I'm not sure that has a whole like monetization opportunity, which is sort of where we are today. But it's my side hustle and it's my passion, and I'm not willing to give it up.
So, what is the typical cost for a host?
Nothing.
Oh,
you provide the food. So people have done like charcuterie.
Oh, of course.
People have done Chipotle because they think it's funny, like whatever.
Totally.
So
we need chips.
You provide the food.
It would be a whole turnout.
And you get your friends there, but there is no cost.
This is really something, What if so this is interesting.
But my expectation is that everyone will pay to sit at the rolling bar. So people have done it for birthdays and they have paid for their guests.
Yes.
But typically, and usually for the two, to learn how to roll 2 joints, to have an edible and the lighter, and I usually give a CBD sample and a coupon for your next Poplar purchase.
Excuse us. Are you in, guys?
Yeah, exactly.
We're doing this.
Yeah, so that's usually $65 to sit at the rolling bar. That's the jam. So, which again, if you go for a night out, like you're spending way more than $65 anywhere in New York City.
And also, there's like usually no activity component.
Correct.
So you're getting to interact also with the people that you're there.
And
so
we need a mentor, guys.
Yes.
I think this is like, maybe you already know this, but like the majority of us don't know what we're doing when it comes to this really beautiful.
And I want you to know from someone who knows you. Do you know what I mean? Like, or at least knows what I believe my core demographic is, which is like, I know you're nervous. Like, or even if you're not nervous, right? Even if you're 100%. Not nervous, you have things, right? Like we had this intense conversation before about like, what do I do? And then like, hey, other person who may smell like weed all the time, like, what do you do? And it's like, well, yeah, like this is what I do. And, time and place for different things. Yeah. And, again, I make, as I said earlier, a lot of analogies to alcohol because people understand it. So it's like saying, you can have a beer and go fully function, or you could have, you know, a shot of Everclear and not. Cannabis exists in the same spectrum. You could have, you know, your version of a beer. Hopefully you don't, I don't know if you're a person who needs Everclear, maybe you have some other issues, but whatever, martini straight up version, I suppose. So that's really like, that's my jam. That's a pop party. I go, like I have one in New Jersey on Thursday. So I mean, I really go throughout the tri-state area.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, one, low threshold of an entry point, because like you don't even have to, you can just invite your friends, which is nice. And
Just host a party.
You can just host a party,
Yeah.
which is great.
Yeah.
And if you want to like treat your friends and do it, really the cost
Yeah.
is seeming fairly low.
Exactly. And the invitation says like rolling bar will be in session. It costed, you know, so again, and we've refined it, I mean, over years, because I couldn't figure out how to monetize it. But on the one hand, I was like, well, that's okay. I'm going to open these dispensaries, so I don't need to. And now I'm like, oh, yeah, maybe I should like at least figure out how to like make this a thing. And so so we're hosting our first Puff and Paint in Long Beach on Wednesday.
Fun.
So any Long Beach people message me, although we're almost sold out, but if you want to message me, we can probably fit you in. But I'm partnering with someone who paints, and I mean, I'm not a painter, but why not? Like,
Why
again,
not?
in the spirit of like, oh, that's fun. I mean, when I get super stoned, like I make beaded necklaces. Like they're kind of ugly, but like I don't care. Like
No, they're fun.
like this is a perfect like.
I think it's cute.
I love
Again,
it.
it's just, well, you do something with your hands, you take a break. I need a break from the computer. I'm obsessed. We're all obsessed. Like I need a break from the email and the internet and the things. And so it's my tool. It's a big tool for me.
I have to ask you about motherhood and cannabis. Not that you're a canna-mom necessarily, only. But how do you...
So
how
my
do
children,
you navigate that
Yeah.
with children? Only because the show's called Mom Curious. So
Yeah.
I gotta ask.
So I have 2 boys. They're 9 and 11. We have not actively had the conversation because they haven't asked. And one of my parenting mottos is sort of like, never lie, but don't give too much, right? So I'm not going to be like, so guys, you know that smell over there? That's called cannabis. Like they definitely, at some point, they're going to be like, wait, that's weed. Like they're gonna put it all together. But I don't actively smoke in front of them because I don't want them to think smoking is acceptable, whether that's vaping or smoking. So I try not, I don't think they are able to necessarily understand that you smoke different things, and there are things that are okay to smoke and things that are not okay to smoke.
As we've established, I still have an issue with that.
Well,
I don't
exactly.
really get it.
But back to that beverage conversation, like we have cannabis beverages. I mean, we now live in the suburbs in Long Beach. It's the beach, not the suburbs, but it's the suburbs.
Beach, babe.
I know. But so in our beer fridge, we have cannabis beverages. And I have this debate lively discussion with many of my friends where they're like, well, I can't put that in my refrigerator. What if my child opens it? And my response is, you don't have wine or beer in the fridge? Do you padlock that? And they're like, well, it's different. And that's sort of part of my like, how? Like we don't say to our kids like, this is tequila. You know, they just know that's something that's for adults. Mom and dads have that. I'm not allowed to touch it. And then there'll be a point in their adolescence that they're curious and they're going to want to hopefully have a conversation, and hopefully they'll come to me and we'll talk about it. And I'll give them the tools to make a determination about when and where and how it is right for them. Just like as parents, we're going to navigate when our kids try alcohol. Like, you know, and I think that I'll never lie to them, right? I don't need to overshare. They're 9 and 11. But yeah, I mean, they know there's a bar cart and a weed cart, but they have never been like, what is that? And when they do, I answer them and I say, it's just like alcohol. It's for mommy. Like one time the bong was like, it sits by, but it literally, it's a beautiful bong. We also sell it on Poplar. It's by Session Goods. Highly recommended. So our sink is in the corner of the kitchen. So like it's like a weird, there's like 2, sections of the sink. So over here is the soap and the over here is a big jar of weed that we grew last summer. I had never grown it before. That was super fun.
It was also my first summer last summer.
So we just started. hopefully soon we'll move the plants outside.
Yeah.
And that's another easy way to talk to the kids about it, because we also grow blueberries and green beans and all this stuff. And they're like, well, what's this? And I'm like, it's a flower. And they're like, what's the flower? And I was like, it's called cannabis. And they're like, okay. Like, do we pick it? And I'm like, you won't pick it. Mommy and daddy will handle it later. And then when we chopped it, they were like, what happened to the tree? And we were like, oh, we harvested it. And they were like, okay. And that. So anyways, kitchen, sink, soap, really pretty bong that I keep obsessively clean, canister of cannabis, little dish with a bunch of lighters in it, and an ashtray. And it's there. And it sits there. And because that is normal for them, it just exists. They have never, I mean, again, once the bong was out and they were like, what is this? And I was like, it's like wine. And then my then 8-year-old kind of came back and was like, you mean you put the wine in there? And I said, something like that. And then I was like, okay, let's move this back. You know, of course, but like, yeah, you sure, something like that.
But it seems like you're seeding healthy conversation for when the time is right.
I hope so, right? It's the same thing I think about all those conversations we're going to have with them. Sex,
but
puberty, like
you know, like sex and cannabis, and even to some degree alcohol. It's all healthy, you know.
Well, you certainly want to be a mom who the conversation is healthy, right? Like, I am a safe place that you can come and ask anything. I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to love you no matter what. I may want to suck it to you sometimes, but like, I'm going to answer. I am going to be here for you, and I'm going to answer your questions, you know, with some like love and tenderness and dose of reality. Like, I think that's sort of, again, part of that job. And it makes you a better mom, right? It's also the reality. And so like, just like I was away on a girls' weekend and the boys were like, oh, you like wanted to, with my college friends and I spent Mother's Day away. This is our 3rd annual Mother's Day
Good
away.
on you.
Highly recommended. No one
that.
can complain. I don't need a gift. I don't need anything. I send myself on a vacation with my college girlfriends. So I came back. They were like, you want to spend Mother's Day with your friends, not with us? I said, no. Mommy needs to spend that time with her friends so she can be an awesome mommy the rest of the time when she's with you. Like, Mother's Day is my one day to choose what I want, and I want to feed myself and, you know, and fill my cup so that then I can provide for you, right? So
beautiful.
like,
Daniela, this seems to be a growing trend also, because some of our other mom curious friends seem like they also had been like vacation minded for Mother's Day. I'm loving it. I mean, as a non-mom, I am like here for it. You don't get a break. You don't get a break.
I've been getting a break recently, actually, because Dan is so hands-on. But
it's different though. The
It's
break you
different.
get,
Actually-
I have a great partner.
yeah,
But the break you get, it's not like
no, it's not like a vacation.
right. Like the mental break of knowing that you don't need to get everyone ready tomorrow morning, even if you are out and he's in charge and what, like that.
It's huge.
It's huge.
It's huge.
Do you know? Like, I don't know.
It's
There's
huge.
just something to it,
And that your fun is important.
It is.
It really is important.
It really is. I think it makes like in this new sort of, I always feel like I'm going into new eras of my life. I don't know, but like,
I feel like I am also. I'm turning 40 in a couple months, and I'm like, oh wow, I'm like really stepping into a new.
I'm
phase.
turning 44 June 6th, and I
Happy almost
really
birthday.
thank you.
Yeah.
And I really feel like I have come to terms with the fact that I really enjoy hosting and having fun, and like that is a part, and like I shouldn't be like, oh, well, that's so like stereotypical and girly and da-da-da, and I should shove that down, and like, no, like I love it.
Well, we want to be hosted by you.
Okay.
I mean, I also love to host, and I am also a badass business owner.
Yeah.
And like those things can coexist at the same time. Like I will, you know,
Amen to
get
that.
it done, but I still love to put together a damn sharp
Right.
charcuterie. You know, it's
Exactly.
my
It's
vibe.
Like, this is what feminism really is.
I
mean,
think so.
This is the new evolution. It's like we don't need to be men.
Yes.
We can be feminine.
I don't necessarily want to
and
be equal,
leaders,
right? Like I want you to open the door for me, but I want my ideas to be just as good as yours, even though I have a vagina, right? Like it's like
but
that.
carry my suitcase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can carry it for myself sometimes, but like again, I think especially like if you have a partner and you're, you do things for each other. Sometimes those things are ordering dinner and note, I didn't say cooking dinner. Sometimes those things are ordering dinner and sometimes, right, those things are carrying each other's suitcase. And but I guess again, the moral of the story is like, if you're a little more chill, it's all better. The relationships are better. The way you can view it is better. You just like take a beat.
I have to say, I don't know. I've known Laura for now 3 years, and being in her orbit, I don't know when you consume your cannabis. I don't know what is happening. I don't know. I don't even know if it matters. But the calm,
pretty solid baseline going. I'll tell you that.
Exactly. But the calm, direct. It's such a beautiful.
Yeah, like D, I'm not cloudy
be
because you know what I mean. Like there are times like that I won't smoke when I'm,
of course.
I don't love it on set anymore. And I'll tell you, it's funny. It's actually because on set I do less physical running around than when we were earlier on or when I was younger. So I actually liked being high and running around and being in it. But when you have less to do, you start to be like, oh God, now you're gonna notice. Like you're there you gotta sit there with clients and stuff. It just becomes like it doesn't hit the way,
But it helps with your creativity, doesn't
majorly. It also helps with
you're wildly creative.
My nervous system regulation, which is how as a woman in this industry I can run a business and tell men like, no, you've now, like that's not going to happen or that can't be that way or, the millions of things that crop up when you're, running a business. And
I have to say that like being in relation to you is really fucking great.
But that's a testament, right?
But I'm just saying that because you're saying you'll be a better mom, you'll be a better partner when you're. And I'm in relationship with Laura in a pretty intimate way.
Yeah.
Consistently.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how do we get in contact with you? How do we support Poplar? How do we learn more about all of it?
All the things. So you can follow us obviously on Instagram. Poplar is just at Poplar, Poplar. My personal is at Beryl Aliza, so BERYL. ALIZA. And our website is www.shop-poplar.com. As I said before, I easily give out my cell phone. So if you ever DM and you need something, honestly, I think part of my mission is not to gatekeep and to share information. And so, I don't know, text me. You have to DM me to text me. I'm not going to give you my phone number here. But
and we definitely have to get something going out east. I mean, that's a must.
This summer, right?
Yes, definitely.
For sure.
Get
it on the books.
Yes.
Okay, see you guys there. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, as always, for listening to the Mom Curious podcast. My name is Daniela Rabbani. I am your host. And I would love to continue this conversation at Daniela Rabbani on Instagram. And if you'd be so kind to rate and review, share this podcast, I would be just really grateful. Catch you next time, every Tuesday on the Mom Curious podcast, produced by Hoff Studios. You can find them at Hoff Studios on Instagram as well. All right, have a great day.